I can't believe it. We're here. We're back. Deep Hoops. But now, it's not just audio. It's video, baby. It is video. I'm the minister.
And I'm Rob.
And we want to welcome you to Deep Hoops, where we're not experts, but we're passionate fans talking about the game we love, the NBA. Rob, what's up, baby?
How you doing?
I'm doing good, man.
Glad to be here. Long time coming.
Long time coming. Now, I want to tell y'all, all of these other podcasts and broadcasts out there, they're not going to compete. Once you taste what we're doing here, you're going to want to come back to Deep Hoops every week to see what we're talking about, because we keep it real. We're not experts. We're not, the press. We're not media. We're just fans doing what we love, talking about the game that we love, the NBA. And we're going to kick it off by talking about, this has probably been the greatest offseason in any offseason in NBA history. All the movements, people going from team to team, and they did it so that they could keep up with Golden State. All of these moves were to counterdo what Golden State has already done. Golden State is everything, what everyone is reaching for, and we're going to talk about some of the offseason moves. So I want to throw it to you first, Rob. What offseason moves were you most impressed with? Were you least impressed with? And do you think is going to make a difference in this upcoming season of the NBA?
It's funny you mentioned that all the teams is trying to keep up with Golden State. But the one thing that these teams are not doing that Golden State has accomplished is that Golden State's done it through the draft. We look at the signing of last year of Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant, that's right.
Prior to that, they did win a championship with Harrison Barnes.
Exactly.
Now keep this in mind. Draymond Green, drafted. Klay Thompson, drafted. Steph Curry, drafted. Harrison Barnes, drafted. Okay, Iguodala was a signing.
Right.
They traded Monte Ellis for Andrew Bogut, but again, they did it through the draft.
The core players.
The core players
Right.
are from the draft. Now, it doesn't help that you have money available for Kevin Durant.
Unfair. But that was last season. I'm not going to bring that up again this season.
But
that was last season.
I bring that up because you're saying, keeping up with the Kardashians, keeping up with Golden State, these guys did it through the draft. So to me, if you want to keep up with Golden State, it's not about the players you acquire. It's about the personnel that you put in the front office.
But, that's a long-term plan. And I think, just saying that, that's what the Lakers are doing. The Lakers are building for the future, and I think the Lakers are going to be a great team in the future. But talking about movement that happened in this offseason, they did it so that they could try to match up with Golden State. And of course, it's temporary, it's short term, but that's what they did it for, so that they can keep up with Golden State.
There was 5 moves in the offseason that took place. 4 of them really stand out. One I thought was expected. The one that was expected was the buyout with D. Wade and him signing with Cleveland.
Right.
We saw that coming. We thought it was going to happen last season.
Right.
But we saw that coming. But to me, of all the moves, the most surprising, I would say the most shocking move was the Chris Paul trade.
That was more shocking to you than Paul George going to OKC?
Well, here's the thing. With Paul George, I knew he was on the move.
But did you pick OKC for the team? Yeah. Okay.
But he was on the move.
Right, okay.
So,
but you knew, so you didn't think that Chris Paul was going to leave LA?
No.
Oh.
Not on a trade to Houston.
Well, but it really wasn't on a trade to Houston. That was the backdoor deal that they did so that they can keep it in the salary cap. He was going to Houston, and they said, make it work.
Keep this in mind. He opted into a current contract.
Right.
And forfeit a $200 million contract.
But he did that so that they can make the numbers work. He knew, he and James Harden, this buddy ball is something that's happening in the NBA, and we could talk about that in another show. But the buddy ball is what made this happen. Chris Paul and James Harden talked about playing together and how great it would be, and so they made the deal happen. And then they went back to the teams and said, make the numbers work, and whatever we have to do to make the numbers work, make it happen.
I did not see him going to Houston.
Okay.
I thought San Antonio was a landing spot for him.
So did I.
And with him opting in and forfeiting, getting maybe this 5-year, $200 million or whatever it might be, and even leaving Clippers. Now, I was for him leaving Clippers, but I just didn't see Houston as the
Still hate Doc,
destination.
don't you?
No, I don't hate Doc. I think Doc.
He hates Doc.
I think Doc is a better coach in the East and not in the West. I never thought he was a good marriage with the Clippers. He's not a West Coast coach. He's an East Coast coach.
All right, well, whatever coach, he's going to win, or he's going to be in the top 3 of coaches of the year this year. That's what I'm telling you right now. Doc Rivers is going to be top 3 coach of the year.
Well, we'll get to that later.
We'll get to that.
But he's not in my top 3.
Well, that's the raw top 3.
He's not in my top 3.
I mean, you're the straw that stirs the drink. You just deal in controversy.
He's not in my top 3.
Okay, all right. Stir on.
Well, now you brought up Paul George. Him and Butler, I knew they were going to get traded.
Right.
Landing in OKC and landing in Minnesota. With Butler, that's not surprising because he's teaming up with his former coach. But seeing Paul George land in OKC was a bit on the surprising side. But again, I knew he was going to be moved. But watching Melo go there,
that was crazy.
That's something to think about. And then the move that I thought is best suited for the long term, and it came out of nowhere, was the Kyrie Irving trade from Cleveland and Boston. Let me ask you this: when do you see the number 1 seed in the conference and the number 2 seed in the conference make a blockbuster trade,
right,
such as
trading superstars?
Yeah,
not junk.
Trading superstars. We're not talking about you and I, who's on the bench,
right,
13, 14, 15, man. We're talking about MVP candidates.
I'm selling soda.
We're talking about MVP candidates.
Right, exactly.
Isaiah Thomas was an MVP candidate.
MVP candidate, and Kyrie, well, we'll talk about that in a minute, but and Kyrie is a superstar.
So I think Boston making that move, I think that move is better suited for the long term than it is for this year.
Well, yes. And all of the moves that they made, I think they're going to pay dividends this season. I don't think that they're going to be the number 1 seed, but then again, they can be. Watch out for Washington. I think they can be the number 1 seed, but they weren't thinking about number 1 seed this season. They weren't thinking about finals this season. They would stumble into the finals. They wouldn't refuse it if it came to them, but they were saying LeBron is going to leave the East eventually, whether it's next season or in 2 or 3 seasons, he's going to leave, and we need to put ourselves in position to run the table. But as they're trying to run the table in the East, and I'm getting ahead of myself, as they're trying to run the table in the East, there's another team in the East in a few years that's going to be something to contend with if they stay healthy, the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah, right now the 76ers, to me, is taking the blueprint of Golden State.
Yes, building.
They came out with a slogan a couple of years ago, trust the process. Mm-hmm. And if you're a Philly fan, you probably was a little bit annoyed by it.
With it, yes.
But with patience, it's probably going to play out. And I think in maybe not necessarily this year, but from next season going further, I think we're going to be looking at them as a top 5 team in the East.
Top 5 team in the East. Let's be honest. And we'll get back to the offseason moves because they didn't really participate in the offseason moves except for what's his name?
JJ Redick.
JJ Redick is going to be a key.
That's a big sign, and they overpaid 1 year $23 million, but he brings professionalism. He brings an outside jump shot. A steady jump shot.
A steady jump shot.
And he just brings leadership, and on that team, they need something like that.
And you know what? It brings a steady jump shot for JJ Redick, who had seemed to lost some of his confidence in his jump shot last season. And I think he's going to be more open this season with Embiid anchoring the post. He's going to be more open. He's going to see more wide open shots. It could be a resurrection for his career as well.
Keep this in mind with Philly, and this is a very unique situation. Embiid has been drafted 3 seasons ago. He's only played 31 career games. And they may feature 3 Rookie of the Year candidates in Markelle Fultz, Ben Simmons, and Joel Embiid.
But Embiid can't qualify for a Rookie of the Year, can he?
He can because he has not played enough qualified games in 1 season.
Well, that's going to change my Rookie of the Year predictions. All right, I didn't realize that. That's going to change my Rookie of the Year predictions. But what was the offseason move? We talked about the one that most surprised you. Which one do you think is going to have the most impact in the 2017-2018 season?
I think the moves that OKC made.
Yeah.
I think that their front office, their general manager or president of operations, whoever it might be, is in line for executive of the year. Adding Paul George and Carmelo Anthony is huge.
It's
huge. And people, I'm a Knicks fan, I'm a Syracuse Orange fan, and I'm a Carmelo fan.
So you're the trifecta.
I'm the trifecta.
Right.
And people talk about Carmelo, the ball sticks. Listen, when you're playing with fifth string point guards, the ball is going to stick.
Yes.
All right? I mean, his idol is Bernard King. I don't think Bernard King has ever averaged an assist per game.
Right. Right.
He is what he is. He's a scoring forward.
Right.
But one thing he's a catch and shoot player. And having Westbrook, the best thing that ever happened to OKC was Westbrook averaging a triple-double because we learned that he's willing to pass the ball. And if you can get 10 or more assists with the team he played with last year, I mean, literally, he had to hand them the ball in front of the basket. So the addition of Melo, again, with that executives over there, I look for them to be executive of the year. And the addition of Melo, and adding Paul George as well, I look for them to be the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. And keep this in mind, they did pick up Patrick Patterson.
Right.
I think he can be an excellent 6-man. And Raymond Felton is the backup point guard.
Yes.
To me, he's not a starter in this league, but he's a serviceable backup point guard. So look for them to make some quality noise in the West.
But with that, do you think that they have enough of a bench to really compete with Golden State?
Well, that's the thing about Golden State that separates them from really the bunch, because they could put a 5 off the bench that can start.
Right.
But the bench is going to be a little thin. They're going to have to rely on guys like Jeremy Grant. They're going to have to rely on guys like Alex Abrinas. So they're going to have to rely on Nick Collison is going to have to get back into the rotation. So yes, their benches questions me a little bit.
Nick Collison?
You know what?
Come on, man.
He,
Come on, you didn't say Nick Collison.
He's the mayor of that team.
He's the man. Damn, he's the grandfather man. What are you talking about, Nick Collison, man?
He's going to have to be vocal in that.
Vocal, yeah, okay, vocal.
He's going to have to be
just not serviceable on the court.
He's going to have to be one of those guys that just practice hard at practice to keep everybody motivated.
I'll give you that.
To better that second unit.
Because if they're relying on Nick Collison to be in the finals,
he's not going to get minutes.
No, not
But
minutes.
he's
not even seconds.
Now, there's a guy I want you to keep an eye on, because I think they need one of those microwave type players off the bench, someone who can put points on the board.
Right.
And I would love to see them try to get a Lou Williams.
Wow, yeah.
But I don't think he's available.
Where's Lou now?
He's in with the Clippers. But keep an eye on this guy, Terrence Ferguson. All right, he was the leading scorer.
Is he related to Amos?
He was the leading scorer in the D League last year. That is now the G League.
Okay.
But he was the leading scorer in the D League. He's playing, coming off the bench for them. If he has that ability to score and can come off the bench, I look for him to put up maybe 12 to 13 points a game. If he could be that player that they're acquired.
That Terrence Ferguson right there?
Yeah, that Terrence Ferguson.
Okay.
From the D League, yes.
Okay.
Look for him to be a factor for them going forward.
That's the first of a raw moment. Terrence Ferguson, mark it down. All right, go ahead, Raw.
So I like OKC being the second seed.
All right, so we're talking about the off-season movement. We talked about what OKC did. What are your thoughts about what Minnesota did, adding Butler to that young team, leadership, someone that knows Tibbs' system, adding Jeff Teague to that team, adding, what's the sixth man of the year from the Clippers?
Jamal Crawford.
Jamal Crawford to that team, adding the power forward that Taj Gibson. All of those additions, what are your thoughts about Minnesota, their chances of making it to the playoffs, and what seed are they going to be? Are they going to be top 4, top 6, where do you see them fitting in with their offseason move of adding Butler?
Well, I have their front office second in the executive of the year.
Okay.
I look for Minnesota to be the 4th seed out west. And the reason why I say
4th seed.
4th seed.
Another raw moment.
The 4th seed. Because you mentioned 2 players that they added. Taj Gibson and Jimmy Butler.
Right.
Okay. They're reuniting
With Tibbs.
with Tibbs.
Right.
All right. So them fitting in, it's going to be seamlessly. And not only that, it's going to help on the court because they're going to be truly an extension
Of
to
the coach.
Tibbs
Right.
on the court.
You're going to see that defensive intensity of the rest of the team. Karl Anthony Towns, he's going to play defense the way that he should be playing defense.
Right.
So,
And here's the thing about Jeff T. He's a 2-time All-Star with the Atlanta Hawks. He's a great system player. If you allow him to freelance and be on his own, then you're not going to get the best of Jeff T.
Right.
But if you put him in a system, you can get the best of Jeff T. And Jamal Crawford, he can play with anybody.
and remember, Tibbs has always made guards stars. And so Jeff T, as good as he's already been under Tibbs' system, it's only going to be enhanced because guards, really come to their own under Tibbs' system.
Now, here's another raw moment. If
Wait a minute, you don't predict raw moments. I tell you raw moments.
if there's going to be
That's my thing.
if there's going to be a weak link to this team, it's going to be Wiggins.
Ooh, that is a raw moment. You're right.
I believe Wiggins is going to be the weak link, and let me share why. He was the first one there.
Right.
Since he's been there, Karl Anthony Towns has come, Tibbs has come, Butler is now there, Jeff Teague is there, and he has the pressure of the 5-year, $140 million contract that he just signed 36 hours ago. So, and report says he's lazy, he doesn't work on defense. The pressure is going to be on that guy to step up his game, step up his attitude, and contribute in a way that Tibbs wants him to contribute. And I don't know if he's mentally prepared for it.
But is not Tibbs the president of operations over there?
He is.
So he made that deal. So he made that deal not as, as the coach and president of operations. So I have to believe that he believes or sees something in him that made him make that deal, not only as the president of operations, but as the coach.
Well, from the business side of it, he's going to sell more jerseys than any other player on that team.
No, Karl Anthony Towns will sell more jerseys.
It could be neck and neck.
So, but just think of it. If Tibbs didn't believe in him, he had the ability to trade him, to get rid of him.
I agree.
And he didn't do that. He signed them.
Owner might have stepped in.
But I don't think Wiggins has that much of an impact on the bottom line of Minnesota that the owner would step in and say, you better sign him for $145 million.
I don't think you give up on him. But the pressure's on him.
Well, no, I agree. The pressure's going to be on him. That's a great offseason move. Any other offseason move, because we're going long on this one, any other offseason move that you can think of that is going to impact the 2017-2018 season?
Those was the top 5. Millsap going to Denver. Maybe they eke into the playoff. I don't know. But, Gordon Hayward going to Boston. It seemed like that got overshadowed by the Kyrie Irving trade.
And it should have.
And it should have. But, no, I don't see anything else that's going to be significant enough.
So, my only other one is the one that you just mentioned. Kyrie Irving going to Boston. Okay? And as we said, it's going to have an impact. I don't know if we said it on air or in our production meeting. It's going to have an impact on this season, yes.
Yes.
But the long-term impact that move is going to make, especially with, you're my name person, the kid from Duke.
Jason
Tatum. That dude is going to be the real deal.
Yes, he is.
That dude is going to be the real deal.
Yes,
and he could be, a number one, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes, but for Rookie of the Year, because that kid is going to get some shine, and that team is going to get a high level of visibility.
this might seem a little odd the way I present this. Because of the lack of minutes and the lack of touches and coming off the bench, I think Jason Tatum has a better chance of being a sixth man of the year than he has rookie of the year.
Well, let's see if he's coming off the bench at the end of the season. All right, but I don't think he's going to be coming off the bench, but that's a story for another day. Whoa, little background noise back there. Hey, production people, can you keep it quiet back there? We're doing a show over here, huh?
It says sixth man of the year, and you fall out.
All right, so we always talk about this when we're not on air. You know, the team that is going to surprise a lot of people may not have made the playoffs the previous year, or barely made the playoffs the previous year. Is there a team that no one is expecting to do anything that you would call your sleeper team that's going to really surprise people? And if so, who is it?
I don't have a team that is projected not to make the playoffs that's going to make the playoffs.
Okay.
And if I was going to choose a team, it's only because I'm a fan of that team, and that would be the New York Knicks. But my sleeper team will be. My sleeper team is in this sense. My sleeper team that can go to the finals would be the Washington Wizards.
No. That can.
If I was choosing a sleeper team to make it to the finals, I would choose the Washington Wizards. And I'll tell you why. When I look at Boston, they're only returning 4 starters. When I look at Cleveland, don't get me wrong, there's not a team out there that's loaded more than Cleveland.
Hell no.
There's not a team loaded more than Cleveland. But Cleveland has 2 problems that could get in their way of their success this year. One, Tyronn Lue. Is he the guy for this job?
Not.
And the second one is, they're featuring 2 point guards that are underpaid, that are in contract years, and if they go for money and play selfish ball and not team ball, it can disrupt the whole team. That's Isaiah Thomas and Derrick Rose. Isaiah Thomas, he's looking to get paid. This is maybe his last time around. If he doesn't play team concept and he goes for the contract, he can disrupt everything that Cleveland wants to do. And then there's Derrick Rose. He's making $1.3 million. This is the same guy that 2 seasons ago stood in front of the camera at the podium and said, I got to think about my children's future. And now he's getting $1.3 million. If these guys go for the money, they can disrupt everything that Cleveland's doing. On the other hand, Washington is returning the same team. The same starting 5. They have cohesiveness. They have chemistry. I think they actually strengthened their bench a little bit. I don't know if you're familiar with Tim Frazier, but he was a point guard for New Orleans Hornets.
It's Bill Frazier's son, eh?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
But he's going to be an excellent backup. They picked up Jody Meeks, who can stretch the floor a little bit, shoot a jump shot. That maybe he's not Bradley Beal, but he can extend.
Is he going to be healthy?
The question is health. Yeah, I agree with that. And then here's a sleeper pick you may not even know about. They picked up Mike Scott from Atlanta Hawks last year. And I think that he can be a big factor over there, stretching the floor. He shoots a jump shot. He plays hard. He's a little bit rough. I like the Wizards to be a sleeper team. I'm not saying they will go to the finals, but if you ask me a sleeper team, I think the Wizards is a sleeper team that can make it to the finals simply because they're bringing back the same unit, and out of all the teams in the Eastern Conference, they're probably going to have the best chemistry.
My sleeper team, and once again, this team did not make it to the playoffs last year. And I think they're going to have a major impact on the playoffs this year, the Miami Heat. I think the Miami Heat barely missed the playoffs last year. And Spoelstra is doing a heck of a job from a coaching perspective. And they're not going to be a finals contender. But I think that they're going to not only be a playoff team, they're not going to be a playoff contender. They're going to be a playoff team. And they're going to shake up whoever they play in the first round. If they're not in the top 4 seeds, if they're 5 or below, whoever they play in the first round is not going to want to see them coming.
Yes.
I don't care if it's Washington, I don't care if it's Cleveland. And as far as Cleveland is concerned, and this goes to off-season moves more than sleeper, I think that Cleveland just has too much going on. I just think, you know, we've talked in past seasons about just adding players to be adding players and not thinking about building a team. You're just constructing and putting names in a box and hoping that you shake it up and it'll work. This is a basketball team, not basketball names. And all they have done is assembled a bunch of names and not a cohesive team. The difference is LeBron James is so great, he can, you know, overwrite any bad things that you do, even though he was probably behind most of the bad decisions that they made. But his play on the court can overshadow any of the bad moves that they made. But I don't, you know, they're going to go to the finals just because in the East it's so weak. I think that, you know, I'm getting way ahead of myself, but I think that Washington can make the playoffs. I mean, be at the finals, like you said. I think that Boston can be in the finals. But I think the sleeper team in the East, or in both conferences, in my opinion, is the Miami Heat. I think people are sleeping on them. I think they did not make the playoffs last year. I think that they're going to really shake up what's going to happen in the 2017-2018 NBA season.
Here's my take on Miami. I thought that Eric Spoelstra did his best coaching job ever last season.
Yes.
I thought he should have been considered for Coach of the Year.
Yes.
Okay? I think also what happened with Miami last year was two things. A, they were on nobody's radar. And B, they had a bunch of players that was in their contract year. Now, they got their money. Are they going to have that same desire last year? Two, are they going to be on teams' radar? So now, I believe they're going to be on teams' radar. I think that they get in by default as the 7th seed simply because the bottom teams in the East is so bad. But it would not surprise me if Miami don't make it to the playoffs. Just because they are now on teams' radar, and some of their players from last season got paid. They were playing for contract. And I wanted to touch bases on Cleveland because I agree.
Before you go to Cleveland, let me
Sure.
just say one thing.
Sure.
You said one on Miami, their players were in contract seasons. The reason that they played well, they got the contracts. Two was they were not on people's radar. They'll be on people's radar.
Right.
You didn't get to three. I'm going to tell you three is why they're going to make it to the playoffs. Pat Riley. Pat Riley and Spoelstra, coach and GM. Pat Riley is going to be surveying everything that goes on in the during the season. And if there's a key pickup that he can make, he will do it. He will find your John Starks. He will find your Anthony Mason, someone that's in a grocery store. He's going to find talent and bring them to that team. And it's not because they were in a contract season. Pat Riley has an expectation of playing 100% every game, every day. And that's why they played hard last year, not because of a contract season, and that's why they're going to play hard this year.
Now, remember this. Two things occurred last year. One, Pat Riley and Spoelstra was there last year, and they didn't make the playoffs. Second, they had a 13-game losing streak.
To start the season.
A 15-game winning streak. Only team in league history to do such thing.
But they started slow and ended big. And I think the way that they ended is what you're going to see this year. They're not going to start as slow as they started last year. And once again, that's why it's a sleeper. They may stay asleep, you know what I'm saying? But I'm thinking that they're going to wake up and make it not only to the playoffs, but they're going to shake up the whole season. Miami Heat is going to have a great season. And the other team that everybody's talking about, but I still see them as a sleeper because they didn't do anything last year. They didn't make the playoffs last year. They were riddled with injuries, the Philadelphia 76ers.
I have a saying, you got to crawl before you walk.
Oh, with Embiid,
and I think they have
come out the cradle walk.
I think they have one more year of crawling. But this is a team that in the very near future, they're going to be battling Boston
Oh, no doubt in the future.
For a trip to the
If
finals.
Embiid can, what did he play? 31 games last year.
He's played 31 career games.
Well, that was all last year, right? I mean, he didn't play the year before that. It was all last year. So he played 31 games last year. I'm going to tell you right now, if he can get to 60 plus games,
Yeah.
they're going to the playoffs.
You know what? They could get it.
If
Listen, he stays healthy.
if he
they could get
stays
it.
healthy,
Yes, I agree with that.
and that kid,
And you don't want to play him in the first round.
no,
You don't
no,
wanna
I
play him in the
mean,
first
not
round.
even Cleveland. No one is going to want to play that.
And I wanted to touch on Cleveland because I know there's other areas we got to get to. But I want to touch on Cleveland. They won a championship with J.R. Smith and Tristan Thompson in the starting five. Am I right?
Yep.
And neither one of them starting this year. I don't like their setup. I really
No
don't.
chemistry,
I think they're going to have
no
chemistry.
continuity.
They may
Right.
have it. J.R. Smith is complaining.
Right.
You know, D. Wade is a walk-in Hall of Famer. All right? Rightfully so, he should start.
He should start.
I think the best of D. Wade for Cleveland is off the bench.
I don't think so.
I think so.
I don't think he's ever played off the bench. I think that J.R. Smith understands coming off the bench. And it's not who starts the game, who finishes the
I
game.
agree with that. You look at Iguodala. He was a starter all
I
his
understand.
career. He comes off the bench for Golden State.
But Iguodala, as much as I like him, is no Dwayne Wade.
But he anchors that second unit. The benefit of D-Wade coming off the bench is that he brings a ball handler. Right now, do you want Jose Calderon backing up Derrick Rose coming off the bench? Ball
wouldn't
handler?
mind.
Nah, I don't think so.
I wouldn't mind.
You have D-Rose, not only that, you don't burn him out. D-Rose has a penchant of not playing enough games throughout the season. If you play him 35 minutes, he may not be healthy towards playoff time. But if you play him 20 minutes a game, 24 minutes a game, he's healthier down the stretch. I like D-Wade coming off the bench for that matter. I think it would be better for Cleveland. But right now, you're sitting Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith, they got chemistry issues over there. And not to mention, and I don't want to bring this on the air, LeBron is not happy with the Kardashian cameras in the locker room.
Kardashian cameras. All right, so we've looked at the off-season movement.
Yes.
We've talked about our sleeper team.
Yes.
Let's talk about our season predictions. Let's start with the Rookie of the Year. Who's your Rookie of the Year?
Well, to me, it only comes down to two people. Lonzo Ball and Ben Simmons. I think Lonzo Ball is going to have the advantage because, no pun intended, he's going to have the ball. He's going to have the ball in his hand. And I just think, and all eyes is on him. It's almost like it's his to lose. And I think Ben Simmons is gifted. I think he's special. I think that he's going to shine over Embiid and Fultz. And the reason why, it's almost we've seen Embiid already. All right? Fultz is going to have to do so much more than ball. But Ben Simmons is just going to have his own path. His own path.
So, your one Rookie of the Year is
Lonzo Ball.
Lonzo Ball. And I'm going to give you two as well. My two, I mentioned him earlier, and you talked about him being more of a sixth man, and I said that he may not end up being the sixth man. That Tatum kid for Boston, out of Duke, I was talking to my friend Al Davis, and he's going to be on the show one week. He talked about coming on the show, basketball enthusiast, and he's a North Carolina fan. And he says nothing good has come out of Duke except for Grant Hill is the only thing good that's come out of Duke. And I said, well, you know what? This year, we're going to see something great coming out of Duke. And barring injury, this Tatum kid is the real deal. I watched him, and I know you're saying the Summer League. I watched him in the Summer League, and he blew me away. And I'll give you another name that blew me away in the Summer League, but he's not going to be the Rookie of the Year just because of minutes. And you're probably saying the same thing about Jason Tatum. But when he gets on the court, he makes a difference. He is a difference maker on the court, and that, by definition, is what a Rookie of the Year is. A person that's going to make a difference in their rookie season. And if Embiid can qualify for the Rookie of the Year, that changes everything. If he can qualify for the Rookie of the Year and he stays healthy, He is the rookie of the year that can also challenge for the MVP. He is that great.
Okay.
Now you talk about a difference maker. There's no one better. And I just want to put in an honorable mention for rookie of the year, Kuzma, for the Lakers. That kid is going to be the real deal. He may not have the greatest rookie season, but I think in 3 years they're going to say he was picked 26 or whatever the number was. They're going to look back at that pick and say, why wasn't he picked sooner? All the other 25 teams that picked in front of the Lakers, why didn't they pick him? That's how great he's going to be.
I want to ask you a question about Kuzma. I had a conversation with a coworker on the job, huge Laker fan. Is Magic Johnson the right GM for Kuzma?
Well, he's president of operations, and what's the agent's name? That's
right. But is he the right person to be in charge? And the reason why I bring this up, I think that the Lakers will focus more on Ingram than Kuzma. And I think that Magic might see Ingram as James Worthy. And I think at this point here, Judy, I think that it should be Ball and Kuzma. I would sit Randall and I would start Kuzma. Kuzma has that how can I say it? He reminds me of an old school player that just went to school for 4 years, fundamentally sound, a coach's pet, a coach's dream. Doesn't do anything against the grain, and guess what? He's going to get better and better and better and better, and it's going to be easy for him to get better when you have a pass-first point guard such as Lonzo Ball.
Listen, I don't think Magic is good or bad. I think he's good for the Lakers. And I think that he's good for Kuzma and anyone that is going to show talent. Magic is not going to say, come in with, this is who it's going to be, and no matter what you do, you're going to be in my doghouse. I think Magic appreciates talent. And Kuzma has talent. And he's going to let Kuzma play onto the court, and he's going to let Ingram play himself into superstardom or onto the bench. I think that Magic is not going to, if he has anything behind anyone, he has something behind Ball because he sees a lot of himself in Ball. Other than that, he's going to let it naturally unfold. And I think Kuzma, with Magic and the organization letting it naturally unfold, Kuzma is going to naturally unfold eventually into being, you're going to hear his name mentioned the way that they're mentioning Draymond Green's name. Kuzma is going to be that kind of a difference maker.
Okay.
All right?
Okay. I like Kuzma, for the record.
We talked about him during the Summer League.
I like Kuzma.
So we have your rookie of the year is Lonzo Ball. Come on. It's got to be Lonzo Ball. I mean, NBA, ESPN, TNT, ABC, they want Lonzo Ball.
Yeah, I just purchased a Lonzo Ball jersey for my youngest daughter, and I'm not even a Laker fan.
See, I mean,
it paid me to do it.
Do it, but she wanted it,
and you know,
and Daddy got to do what daughter did.
It is what it
and
is.
So all right, so we're in agreement with Lonzo Ball. Just let Papa Ball stay on the side, please. Shut the hell up. Who's your coach of the year?
Okay, I have 3 candidates, and I'm gonna put it to you in order. Scott Brooks is number 1. I think that Washington, being at the sleeper team, I think Washington is gonna have a lot of success. And although they have one of the most explosive backcourts in the game, I think Scott Brooks is still a great coach. Now, I'm not gonna say great because he hasn't won anything, but I think he's a very, 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 very good coach. And yes, and I like for him to be coach of the year, followed by Billy Donovan. I think Billy Donovan is going to shock people over there in OKC.
Wait a minute. Stop the presses.
Yeah.
I thought you hated Billy Donovan.
No, I don't hate Billy Donovan.
We're going to go back to the audio tape. That was audio tape. All right, go ahead.
Billy Donovan.
I love Billy Donovan.
I think he's my number 2 choice, and then number 3 is Brad Stevens. If Boston does make it to the conference finals or make it to the finals, for this guy to get there, reach there, with only returning 4 players, not even 4 starters, 4 players from last season's #1 seed team. That has to be recognizable and commended.
Well, my coach of the year is no doubt Billy Donovan. I think Billy Donovan is going to put, and he's motivated not just by winning, not just by the team that the organization assembled, but he's motivated because Durant tweeted that he was no good as a coach.
Right.
And that's going to drive him. First of all, he's a good damn coach.
He's a good coach. He
was solid in college. And he had the team, well, the team was up 3-1. I'm not going to put the onus only on him or only on the players. It takes a team to give up a 3-1 lead. But he can only put the plays out there. He put them out there set up to win. And Westbrook, and more importantly, Durant, lost that 3-1 lead. And Durant, the weak-minded individual that he is, and I'm not, I'm not calling him anything. He's just weak-minded. He doesn't have a strong mind. And if you want to challenge that, all of the things that he's tweeting, and then he's apologizing, he's sorry. I mean, if he's not Trump on the Twitter, I don't know who is. He's the NBA Trump, and he hates Trump. But he's very sensitive, and that means that, in my opinion, you're a mental midget. Kobe never cared what anybody thought of him. Jordan never cared what anybody thought of him. Magic never cared what anybody thought of him. Bird never cared what anybody thought of him. Durant, and half these weak-minded guys, LeBron, talking about what the press is saying. You're weak-minded. And I'm telling you something. Billy Donovan is going to use that against him. And my prediction is coming up in a few minutes, but I think you know where I'm leaning.
And Westbrook is going to be motivated.
Oh, Westbrook is
He's going and I think
he's going to move that ball around.
Him and Donovan is like this right
exactly.
now.
So
I agree with you on that. That's why I like Billy Donovan to be number 2.
Yeah, and I told you in my top 3, Doc Rivers is going to have a breakout season. He's going to take that team. They're going to say, without Paul, they didn't expect it. I'm going to say, I expect it without Paul because Paul was so ball dominant. Paul was one that didn't, what's his name? DeAndre Jordan wanted to lead the team a few years ago because of Chris Paul. Right. Blake Griffin didn't really reach his heights because of Chris Paul. And I love Chris Paul. But Chris Paul can wear on you. He's like a Pat Riley. Once you have him too long, you just turn a deaf ear to him. And he's going to be good for James Harden for the next 2 seasons. Anything longer than that, and even the Banana Boat boys, they love him as a friend. Let them get on that superstar team that they're talking about. If they better do it for 1 year, because after the second season, they're going to shut up, man. You ain't never won nothing.
Well, I got news for you. I think Chris Paul is one and done in Houston.
Well, he may be, and we can talk about that. I think he's going to be one and done. But so we got the coach of the year. We agree, and I think that Doc Rivers is going to have a great season. And I also say Brad Stevens is going to have a really good season. I also think that Tyronn Lue is going to have a good season. I know you question him, and he's going to have the most difficult job because he has so many players on his roster that he's going to have to find minutes for. But I think he's going to do a great job. But those are the coach of the year. Who's your MVP?
Well, I have 5 candidates.
5!
And I'm going to put them in order, starting from number 5.
But you're going to give me your number 1?
Yes. Number 5, Kyrie Irving. I just think that he has a lot to prove, a lot riding on this season. I think that he's going to go to Boston, and I think he's going to ball out. I don't think he's going to have a triple-double season, but he's going to have an impact like Westbrook had last season on OKC. Number 4, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah.
I think that Milwaukee is going to be with Philly and Boston in the years to come in the East. They're going to be the top 3 team. I think Giannis is going to make a statement this year and says, I belong in the top 5 in the NBA among players. Right now, I have him in the top 10. But I think he's going to try to make a statement and say, when you mention the top 5, mention my name. Number 3, LeBron. There's no MVP race without him. Number 2, John Wall. I think John Wall, I have Scott Brooks there. I have him as a sleeper team. I think John Wall is going to have a breakout year. I really do. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder. I heard an interview with him a couple of days ago where he did not like that loss in Boston, and that's all he's been thinking about since the season ended. I think he's going to come with a vengeance. And then there's Durant. I think that Durant right now is going to go into this season. There's a few people that think that he's the best player in the world right now. And I think that he's going to go into this season and try to solidify that number 1 player, not only in the NBA, but in the world. And for the record, when we do get to our top 25, he is my number 1 player in the league.
No suspense in that, huh?
He is.
Okay. As far as the MVP, I don't have a top 3, but I can make honorable mention. Because the person that I think is going to win the MVP is going to win the MVP, and I'll give you my argument for why. But I think John Wall has a good shot. I really do. I think Kawhi Leonard has a great shot. And the reason I'm using both of them, even though they both have someone on their team that they can play off of, they don't have anyone that's in the top 10 on their team.
Right.
They're the only top 10 players or top 15 players on their team. And that's why my number 1 person that I have for the MVP, not only does he have something to prove, not only is he one of the best players that has been underrated. I hear people calling him the 25th, and on the Washington Post, they have him as 27th. As the 27th player in the NBA this year.
Travesty.
Big time. He is winning the MVP for all of those reasons, and to stick it to LeBron. Kyrie Irving is going to be the MVP of the 2017-2018 NBA season. I mean, mark it down.
Okay.
Unless he gets hurt, he's winning. And, the 4th person that could be an honorable mention, I said it earlier, not only if he can qualify for the Rookie of the Year, and if he can play 65 plus games, he's going to also win the MVP, and that's Joel Embiid. Listen, he is the biggest difference maker, minutes on the court and the point differential and all of the other analytics, all that other stuff that they crunch numbers. Bottom line, I crunch with these, my eyes. They can crunch numbers, but the eyes and the numbers crunch say the same thing. Embiid is a difference maker when he's on the court.
Yeah.
And that's an MVP. So, who represents the East and who represents the West in the finals? And don't give me what everybody else is. Come on, you raw. You haven't given me a real raw moment yet.
It's sad to report. I think we're going to see a 4th straight Golden State in Cleveland. But what I'm rooting for and pulling for, and what I'm saying is going to happen, this is me being raw. I like OKC playing Washington in the finals.
Well, see, now that's raw.
OKC playing.
Okay, now you're talking. You're talking ridiculous, but now you're talking. Okay. Listen, I'm with you. If you just look on paper, and it's fortunate that the games are played on the court. Mm-hmm. And Golden State is the perennial favorite by every expert out there. But I'm not an expert, I'm a fan. Forget Golden State. I love Curry. And I think that Curry deserves to go again. But he's been usurped by Kevin Durant, who in my opinion is the number 1 player in the NBA, period. Let's be real about it. But I think when we talk about the finals, I think Brad Stevens, Russell Westbrook, the addition of Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, and Adams and the rest of the team, they're going to have something to say about Golden State making it to the finals. I think Houston, as weird as that team is and the way that they're built, that moving of the ball and that they get hot with those threes, they can rewrite history. So we can't count them out. But if I had to bet, if my baby's college education was on the line, I would bet Cleveland and Golden State.
Yes.
But like you, I'm going OKC and I'm going Boston. And I can't stand Boston. I'm a long time, grew up for Philadelphia 76er fan. I don't like nothing in Boston. Well, I like the Red Sox. But I don't really like much of anything in Boston. But I think that Boston can really represent all Washington.
Let me ask you a question. I'm on record saying that OKC's front office is going to get Executive of the Year. I'm also on record saying that they need a microwave to come off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
All right? They managed to trade for Paul George and did not give up a first-round pick.
Right.
Let me ask you this. A first-round pick, an expiring contract, could that get them Jordan Clarkson from the Lakers? And could that propel them against Golden State?
I don't know that Jordan Clarkson is enough. I get your point. The microwave coming off the bench. He's got, 3 seasons under his belt? 3 seasons under his belt.
He's good for 15 points a game.
Can I come back to that?
Sure.
All right. Let me come back to that because I want to...
And will Magic do it? First round pick, expiring contract. You know they're looking to get into the free agent pool.
That's interesting. I didn't have it on here, and so if you don't have it, I don't have it. But I want to ask you because you stay on top of everything. Who's your 6th man of the year?
It's a little too early to tell, but if I had to pick somebody right now, I'm liking Jamal Crawford. I think he's going to have the freedom. The only person that might challenge him, I'm going off the cuff with this one, but I'm going to say Nick Young.
Swaggy?
Swaggy P in Golden
Swaggy
State.
P in Golden State?
I think that he's in a situation that he could be happier.
Oh, he's going to be happy.
He's going to shoot,
but he's probably, what do you think he's going to average? About 10 minutes a game?
No, I think he's going to get 15 to 18 minutes a game.
Yeah, 18.
15 to 18 minutes a game, and he's going to average about 12 points a game.
Yo, man.
12
Bottle
points
on
a game.
that?
12 points a game.
Bottle of your choice.
No
All
problem.
right, the bottle of my choice.
12
Under
points a game.
$25. Yeah, I ain't making that
That's
kind
fine,
of money.
that's
man.
fine.
I ain't making your kind of money.
That's
right?
fine. That's fine.
All right, so we've gotten through our season predictions. I want to run through, and I want to run through our top 25. But you know what? We're not going to run through our top 25. We're going to do that as a separate show.
Okay.
All right, we're going to do that as a separate show. We may stay in the same clothes or we may do it another day, but I'm going to do that as a separate show because we're coming down to the end, and I want you to give your closing comments, and then I want to give my closing comments, and then we will deal with the producers and see if we're going to continue to run and do the top 25.
Sure. Okay. Well, my closing comments is going to center around the commissioner in the NBA, and that's Adam Silver. I'm a longtime NBA fan. I love the sport. I love the game. Call me old school, that's fine. But it takes the old school to get to the new school. And what I don't like about the new schools is the diva mentality of these players. I think that Adam Silver is caving in to some of the demands. Now, I agree. You don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. And today's players are probably better negotiators than yesterday's players. But I don't like the idea that the season is tipping off and we haven't even got to the World Series of baseball yet. I'm not used to that. I'm used to baseball being over and out the way. I'm a sports fan. We talk NBA here, but we can have the same conversation, the same setting about the MLB and the NFL. I don't like the fact that now the All-Star game is going to be of 2 captains and they're choosing players. what that is the buddy-buddy system that's been in the NBA for the last several years is continuing to rise and take over. Do you think that Stephen Curry, if he's the captain of one team, you think he's picking a LeBron or a D-Wade? No, it's going to be LeBron is picking D-Wade, Chris Paul, Carmelo Anthony. He might even find Chris Bosh. I just don't like the idea that Adam Silver is caving in to these players, to their demands, and I don't think it's healthy for the sport. Now we're talking about reseeding 1 through 16. I just wish that they keep it traditional, keep it the way it is, and go back to the fans voting and putting in the All-Star. If you want to be an All-Star game players, play well. Have an All-Star season. But let's get back to the game that we grew up on, that we passionately love, that we're sitting here discussing because of what took place from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s.
You know, it's so funny, Rob. Great closing comment. I think they went to that because of last season's All-Star game and no one really cared. I don't think they had to change what they were doing. Just change their motivation. Let them know if you're going to play, play. Give us 100%. The fans deserve it. This is the fans' game. Y'all taking off time. We gave you more rest. We are doing this. We've accommodated everything that you've asked for. Give us 100% in the All-Star game. That's all. But good closing comments. My closing comments has to deal with my man Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook, unlike his former teammate Durant, stayed loyal to his team. He's just signed an extension. So he's saying, I'm going to be there. And his loyalty, his commitment, and his dedication on the court drew Paul George to the team. It drew Carmelo Anthony to the team. And now they're going to have a team that's going to rival the Golden State Warriors. You see, everyone is handing it to the Golden State Warriors. Everyone is handing it to Kevin Durant. And Kevin Durant was a scared young man, scared of Westbrook, scared of competing, and wanted to play with his buddy Draymond Green, who he felt was going to take up for him. Because when the bully Russell Westbrook came around, he had Draymond Green to take up for him. Well, guess what? Russell Westbrook wasn't afraid of you and is not afraid of Draymond Green, but he did get help. And Durant went out talking about Donovan can't coach. He's done everything to put bulletin board material on the OKC Thunder wall so that they can come out and really give it to them. So I commend you, Russell Westbrook. I commend you for your loyalty. I commend you for your commitment. I commend you for your play on the court. And I'm going to watch you. You are now my favorite team and my favorite player in the NBA. I was looking for someone and Kevin Durant was going to be in and it was going to be OKC. Now it's you, Russell. And it's you, OKC. Don't let me down. Go out there and knock Cinderella off the mantle. Knock her down and take that Western Conference Finals and then go to the finals and beat Kyrie Irving, my second favorite player in the NBA, in the finals. Because I can never root for Boston, Kyrie. I just can't do it. But I will root for Russell Westbrook, my man Carmelo Anthony, Paul George, Billy Donovan, and the Oklahoma City Thunder. You are my new favorite team. Rob, we're doing it on video right now, man, and this feels good, man.
It does.
You know, I mean, we look good. All right, we look good. And we don't have faces for radio. We have faces for video, man. And we need to let the world see what we're doing when we're talking about basketball. Did you enjoy it tonight?
I did. And as I said earlier in the show, it was long overdue and it's a long time coming, but it's here. And I cannot be any more excited. And I'm happy, and I'm looking forward to going further with this.
And I just want to say, Tim, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this in China, but we miss you. We have a spot for you when you get back. Bring some chopsticks, and we'll all have some chop suey or something. But we really want to see you back right here on DeepHoops. For the Chopper Troy Ramel Royal, I'm Minister Jehudi, the minister. I thank you for joining us here on DeepHoops. And remember, NewFlavorTV is the place for all of your entertainment. Make sure you're tuning in to NewFlavorTV, not just for DeepHoops, but for everything that they're putting out there. Conversations and everything else. We're changing the entertainment world. We're changing it one show at a time on NewFlavorTV. Peace.